Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Ever since the Warzone Pacific update went live, we've seen quite a few changes to the overall meta. They've gone ahead and obviously buffed and nerfed some of the Vanguard weapons already. They've also made some changes to some of the old meta weapons when it comes to some of the Cold War and the Modern Warfare guns as well. And over the past couple of months of Warzone, even prior to the whole Vanguard integration, we've seen them generally taking the TTK and slowing it down some. They want a slower TTK overall, just so there's more time to react in gunfights. But that's not to say there's not some incredibly fast killing weapons in the game right now. And that, my friends, is exactly what we are focusing on here today. The top 5 best TTK guns to be using in Warzone as of this moment. So as we go through it all, if you enjoy the video at any point, let me know by dropping a like on it. It would be seriously appreciated. And of course, if you're new to the channel or if you have not already subscribed, this is the best place to be for everything going on in COD. And right around 58% of viewers watching are not already subs. So if that's you and you want to stay up to date with everything, news, updates, loadouts, tips, it's all right here. Feel free to subscribe with your notifications turned on. We're also getting super close to 800K. It would be awesome if we could hit that before the end of the year. So first up, we got to talk about a weapon that has pretty much always been in the conversation when it comes to having an insane TTK. You already know this is the AS Val from Modern Warfare. Yes, there is still a Modern Warfare weapon in the top conversation in terms of what are the most efficient weapons to use. I mean, this thing, let's be honest, is sort of that solo beast. It's not super practical for even duos, trios, or quads, but in those certain situations and, you know, with the right person behind the gun, I guess you could say, this thing is just insane. The TTK on the AS Val has been just absolutely nuts ever since it was added in, but because it is such a niche weapon, you don't always see a lot of the top players using it just because the magazine ammo capacity there really is not the most ideal. But hey, the stats don't lie. This thing fries everyone. As far as the setup goes here, obviously it's an MW gun, so we're only going for 5 attachments. There's no muzzle here, just straight up on the barrel right away. And the OSA barrel, I feel like, is the most consistent, better damage range, better velocity. Gonna make it a bit more ideal for some medium range fights. This is primarily a close and medium range based weapon, so we're not focusing too much on range, and instead, more so it's gonna make it super dominant in those closer range areas. Tac laser is going to give you some better ADS speed and a better stability stat as well, which is super ideal, just easier to stay on targets with that. I actually do go for the Ranger foregrip in this case. It's usually between this and the Commando, and Ranger to me just feels like there's even less recoil. It's a lot easier to actually keep your shots on an enemy with this, in my opinion. Also going for the 30-round mags. This is pretty much a must-have because the ammo capacity is so bad as is. Like I said earlier, even with this, it's still not super ideal. If this had, you know, 45, let's say, it could be seriously good in terms of an overall meta weapon, but not enough ammo to really compete against some other options. Then lastly, I go for the Strelok or the Strelok stock here. Better control, better aiming stability. I'm a big fan of this one. Just helps, again, make it a bit easier to use. The recoil is pretty noticeable on this, even in some of those close range fights. So you get a nice mix of some mobility here with the tac laser, obviously, and, you know, you get some stability and some good control out of the other attachments here. All around, though, the thing will delete players. Next up, we got to talk about the Lappa. As you guys know, this thing is a slappa. Ever since it was added in, its TTK has been one of the best in the SMG category. Previously, its main competitors were the MW MP5, the Cold War MP5, and the OTS, all of which were conveniently nerfed with the whole Pacific update, whereas the Lappa was not. So this thing is still very, very strong. One of the best TTKs in the entire game, especially for close range. I mean, this thing's a beast. We've been talking about this quite a bit recently. The setup is going to be the same as always. Obviously, we're going for agency suppressor. That's a no-brainer there. For the barrels, I feel like rifled is the best and most efficient for getting that insane TTK up close. You're increasing the damage and the fire rate, just making it more efficient and more lethal in those CQB areas. Tiger Team's going to give you some better mobility. 40-round mag, just nice and snappy, but some extra ammo in there as well. And then you gotta run the Microflex LED. I'd love to run Bruiser on here instead, but the iron sights are just disgustingly ugly. Can't use them. Gotta be running a red dot for that. After that, I cannot go without mentioning the double barrel right now. Usually I don't include shotguns on like TTK weapon videos or TTK loadout videos because they're shotguns. They're gonna erase players up close, but I gotta make an exception for this thing right now because the double barrel is absurd. I mean, this thing is like model 1887s on steroids. It is so insanely powerful right now. I highly anticipate this thing's gonna get a nerf because the akimbo double barrels are just so broken. But for the time being, it's one of the best close range weapons, one of the best TTK and fastest killing weapons in the game. So here we're going for, first up, the full choke muzzle. Just make shots a little bit more strong up close. We're going for the sawed-off barrel here. Wider pellet spread, better movement speed, and better damage. All very solid pros to have, especially when you're just running it up close. I won't lie, the defender barrel also seems like it could be pretty good, better hip fire damage, better damage, and a better damage range. But to me, sawed off has been working just fine. You don't need an optic here, obviously, because you're using akimbo. You don't ever ADS, but you could throw on a sniper scope just to be extra toxic. I go for the remove stock here. Better hip fire accuracy, better movement speed, sort of a no-brainer there. Obviously, we're running akimbo. You got to have the 2-for-1. It's going to make this thing so much better. The single double barrel, not worth it. The double barrel, the double barrel squared, maybe? Akimbo, we're running it on there. Fully loaded just for more ammo. Pine tar grip's going to give you some better hip fire accuracy. For the magazine, I've been experimenting with double aught, but I just feel like it's not it. So while I was trying it out at first, I feel like not running a magazine at all is probably the better choice here. Then for the ammo, buck and slug is kind of a no-brainer. It's the best for this situation. In other cases, packed powder could also be pretty solid just for the better damage range, but for what we're going for here with just the hip fire, the akimbo build, it seems to work very, very well. So you're not even using all 10 attachments, and this is one of the most broken and fastest killing weapons in the game. Next up, we got the AS-44. We've talked about this one recently. This thing melts everyone. It's definitely not the most convenient medium to long range weapon, but for close and medium range fights, it works a lot more there. Using this as like an SMG AR hybrid is very, very fun. You can even try the full-on hip fire build. More so, that's meant for trying to mess around. I'd say it's not the most efficient just because you are limited to being hip fire only, but for close range in general, you can definitely build this thing out in a way that it is going to erase players, and the TTK in general is better than pretty much every Vanguard rifle that we have in the game right now. First up, I am going for Mercury Silencer, better control primarily because the control on this thing as is not super ideal. I stick it with the first barrel here just for the better control, better accuracy, better damage range. Even though I'm using it pretty much in those close and medium range fights, this to me is what gives it that versatility to potentially use it medium range if you absolutely have to. I go for the 2.5 times scope. You could also go for the slate reflector. Both of those work pretty well for both close and medium range engagements. I go for the custom stock, better accuracy and control during sustained fire. I don't really care too much about the control when mounted, crouched, or anything else, but during sustained fire is what I really care about there. Carver foregrip's going to give you even better control, make this thing laser accurate. I'm also going for the Gorenko 50 round mags. I mean, these things, pretty much anytime you have a damage decreasing mag that's also going to increase the fire rate and the movement speed and control, they're going to fry. It seems like these are really a popular choice in Warzone right now because it's just easy to land shots with these. So the TTK doesn't really feel that much slower, even though you are reducing the damage. I mean, I'm running the mags like this on pretty much all my main weapons right now, and it's no different here. Going for lengthened, you could also try to use incendiary though if you really wanted to, or even hollow point. Definitely mess around if you want to try this out and see what works best for you. The better bullet velocity is not getting its full use in some of those close range fights, obviously, but you know, losing the range and the velocity, and same deal in the hollow point with incendiary, and that sometimes can, you know, play a factor in a gunfight if you have to have this out in an inconvenient place. Lengthen to me, just with no cons, seems to work just fine. Polymer for better control during sustained fire. I use steady. If you're going for full hip fire, obviously you want to be using gung ho, but for how I want to use this and what's most comfortable with me, better ADS firing move speed just makes it a little bit more aggressive. And then we're going for fully loaded once more. And then lastly, of course, we got to talk about the BREN over range. This thing is so good because its damage does not drop off. So while it's a competitive TTK, you know, through the first 30, 35, 40 meters, over range, it really becomes a lot better than most weapons because it doesn't have that damage drop off that those other guns would, because we're obviously using the Royal Barrel. So pretty standard setup for this one. Mercury Silencer, as mentioned, the Royal Barrel for no damage drop off. 2.5 times custom scope is my sort of optic of choice right now. It just is clean. It looks like a T-pose. Also helps reduce the recoil. The BH barrel here, better control, better accuracy, better aiming stability. All great pros to have on a medium to long range build. Hand stop to me gives you the best actual control. While the Carver is physically reducing more recoil, hand stop to me just makes this gun feel like a lot more of a laser beam. It also has less cons as well. No slower ADS on an already very slow ADSing weapon. I'm going for the Sakura mags here. The 40 round, again, better control, better fire rate. You do lose some damage, but it really does not feel like it in game. Lengthened, obviously, for the better velocity. Polymer for the better control during sustained fire. Tight grip for more of the same. Better control during sustained fire there as well. And fully loaded to round things out. And with all that being said, those currently are 5 of the fastest killing weapons in all of Warzone right now. Regardless of which of these you're using, you're going to melt players. You're going to erase them. Basically, Thanos snapping them out of existence. These things kill so quickly. So hopefully this video helped you guys out. If it did, let me know by dropping a like on it. It would be seriously appreciated. And of course, if you're new to the channel or if you have not already subscribed, this is the best place to be for everything going on in COD. Between news, updates, loadouts, tips, I'm covering it all each and every single day. So feel free to subscribe with your notifications turned on. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy. Have an awesome rest of your day. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.